As the sun set over the Ohio Valley last Saturday, the road to Week 13 became much more challenging than most people expected. Streaks were snapped, upsets muddied paths, and still one team navigates through it seamlessly, effortlessly. But the road is still a challenge that leaves nobody unscathed. That road, of course, is Route OVC Big South. And week marker 9 on the way to the FCS playoffs start right now.
1, 2, 3, come on!
Welcome into OVC Big South Game Day for Week 9. Jacob Stonick, James Zugmeyer, Carmen Lumpkins. This is another big week. I'm off another fun, exhilarating, certainly unexpected Saturday, and I think we are just getting ready for another one here this week.
Well, we're lucky for all of us. Looks like the rain's going to go away. I know we all worked that Lindenwood game last week, but a lot of parity, a lot of fun matchups, and we're seeing the same thing here in Week 9.
Yeah, just a lot of tough competitions coming up as well, too.
So we'll start by taking a look at last week's highlights in our first couple of games, and it starts off with Charleston Southern, who picked up their first conference win since November 14th of 2023, taking down Western Illinois. And it wasn't an easy task. Western Illinois, they put up one heck of a game. They had the lead early, had multiple 10-point leads. Started off here, the first one, Markel Hallman with a 1-yard rush. This would make it 17-7. And later on, Kason Carswell, who's just looked amazing so far here this season, finding Alex Williams. 6 touchdown reception for him, 11 yards. That puts him up 24-14 now over in Macomb. But later on, Zolten Osborne, we'll talk about him a lot more later, to Jamal Bishop, creating space, 42 yards to the house, wide open. That would make it 21-24. Once again, they're pushing Charleston Southern. There's Zolten Osborne dropping back, rolling out, and just watch this catch here. And again, Jamal Bishop with an amazing grab in the corner of the end zone, able to sneak it through in the pylon. That would make it 27-24. But of course, there ain't done yet. Once again, let's just get another look at this catch and how amazing it was. Coffin corner right there, just through the pylon. 2 touchdowns in a row for Bishop from Osborne. And then what a play here. They go for 2 just for fun. Create a little bit of a difference, 5-point difference, able to walk it in. And that makes it 29-24. And this is where it came down to here. Big 4th down. Western Illinois pushing with just over a minute to go. It's close. A big stuff. Holman on the run. They're going to have to measure it. Where does it line up? They bring out the chain gang. They put it down, and he is short by just a few, less than a foot. And that is how it ends. A lot of sad Leatherneck fans going home in the rain. Charleston Southern, they're going back home to South Carolina, very happy as they pick up the win, 29-24. What a big game it was for Charleston Southern. But I think the thing that we talked about the most about this game before we came on was it just seems like Western Illinois just can't win right now. They're just doing everything right, but they're just not picking up the scores, the wins, and again, they come 5 points short here, and it seems like it's just so much they're earning, and yet they're still getting no reward.
Yeah, I really could not believe this one. Like, I couldn't watch it live. I come home, I check the box score, and I just couldn't believe that Western Illinois lost the football game. I mean, you look at every statistical measure. They outgained, they outchanced, they outconverted their opponent. But when the game was basically being handed to them, when they were up big and they had 4 drives starting past their opponent's 45, which you need to score on these drives. Like, you need to score here. These are drives that, more often than not, at least need to have 3 on the board. 1 touchdown, 2 turnovers, and a punt. These are times where you're up in the game, you need to come away with points, and they didn't do it again this week, and they went 2 for 4 on 4th down. For Western Illinois, man, you just cannot keep beating yourselves. You have a good offense. You have good receivers. You got a great young quarterback, and yet it's another loss in the win column. Well, not the win column, the loss column. There you go. Yeah.
But on the other side of it, CSU, Charleston, they really did have a better defense in this game. It was led by Zayachkowsy, 16 tackles and 10 solo. Like, that's a lot to carry the defense, and he really did a nice job. And then in addition to that, in the backfield, you have 4 different players who were able to break up a pass in this game. So CSU really just had the better defense. But then also, like you were saying, the missed opportunities for Western, they missed a field goal, and they could have at least been closer to winning this game. And then I really just like the confidence of Charleston to go for that 2-point. You didn't necessarily need it, but it gave the team confidence, and they won the game.
And if they don't miss that field goal, of course, then you just kick that field goal on that 4th down instead of having to go for it. But, of course, plus that extra 2-point conversion, which is even more of a risk. I mean, bold move, but they were able to get it done, and that we'll talk about it more here in just a bit, but a big game for Charleston Southern as they're able to pick up win number 2 for them, first one in conference play this season, first one since 2023. That moves on to, I think, the most surprising result from last weekend. That was UT Martin against Gardner Webb. And obviously the story was Gardner Webb starting quarterback Hansen did not start in this game, to the biggest shock to everyone. But UT Martin took that and they took off running. Take a look at how they performed last week. We'll also talk about this game as well later on. It all started off, Dazalin Warsham, 28 yards. And he's wide open on this play. And I think, again, you just got to look at Jace Bauer able to maneuver. Had a little bit of pressure, was able to get out of the pocket. All of a sudden, there's just a man wide open. And then there's a 28-yard touchdown. And that would put them up 10-0 following the Cade Hector field goal, who also was incredible again, winning the Special Teams Player of the Week again. This is a big play here. Started off, Chris Rhodes, interception on the first play. This was a game-turning moment. First play of this drive. Throws the interception. This was right after the touchdown. Big interception here. Bobbled it up, tip drill, and able to snag it before going down to the ground. Chris Rhodes able to pick it up, and then 2 plays later, the man, the myth, the legend, Jace Bauer. What a play on the legs. He seemed to be a little injured last weekend in their win. I mean, it certainly doesn't look it here today. What a run by Jace Bauer, 15 yards, putting them up even bigger, 17-0 the score. They weren't done though. Chris Franklin, just sit back and watch this one. Just to cap it off. Already up by 23, and a lot of space to work with, and man, does he make it work. All the way down, no one around him, bringing it in for the final touchdown, 37-7. Chris Franklin, and again, another way to just emphasize this win, Gardner Webb, 7.5-point favorites. Money line for them was a -325 as well. And playing at home, I mean, it was a shocker to, I think, everyone, seeing not just UT Martin winning. I think everyone expected this game to be close. It was going to be tight. UT Martin, they're coming back off some big wins. But no one expected it to be a 37-7 thrashing of an under 500 team against an over 500 team.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Vegas did not know, as much as we did not know, that Nate Hampton wasn't going to play this football game. And that is why it was a sweep across the board. Heck, last week I said, I'll take him with the spread, because I am high on Nate Hampton. But coming into this game, apparently he was injured at some point during the week, or the bench, we don't know. So you bring in Cole Pennington. After this game in his career, 2 career touchdowns, 10 career interceptions. He struggled a little bit, and the team struggled the entire game. 4 turnovers, and all of them came at just big times in the game. Like, you either were in the red zone, or you gave UT Martin an opportunity in the red zone because of your turnovers. Like, you can't turn the ball over on big downs in those spots, and they did it all game long. And I'll talk about it a bit more with Cole Pennington, but if he's going to have to play it any more times during the season, I need to see him progress through his reads a bit more. He was staring down guys, made it really easy on UT Martin secondary, and you just can't turn over the ball that many times against a conference team.
And then for UT Martin, they really just did well all around. You saw in the highlights the run game. They were just very efficient. They were able to get down the field, over 240 yards rushing. And that was led by John Gentry and then Chris Franklin. Even Jace Bauer was able to run it too. So that worked well. And then Jace Bauer had a really good O-line to protect him, give him time. He was able to complete 15 of 16 passes and then just be really efficient there. And then even for the special teams, Cade Hector, 3 for 3 on the field goals, a long 41 yards as well. So, and then the defense worked well. So it was really just, everything was just checked off in this game. So they were just able to dominate.
It was really just one of the most complete efforts I think we've seen of UT Martin, especially in the last couple of years. Obviously, they had a great season last year, but considering the start they had this year was certainly, I think, the best game they could have. Not just obviously in general getting a big win in conference play, but with the trend that they're on, this is a really big win for them moving forward here in the season. Talking about some of the other games, take a look at the rest of the games from around the OVC Big South from last weekend. SEMO picked up a big win as well. Johnny Weber, who's just looking incredible, stepping in 42-13 in another. That was kind of a shocker. I think people thought SEMO were going to win, but not this big. 42-13, they get the win. Tennessee Tech, after some long rain delays, they were able to take down Lindenwood 52-28. Obviously saw 37-7, UT Martin, Gardner, Webb. UT Martin now 3-1 in conference play. Just incredible for them. Charleston Southern with that first win in conference play. And then Tennessee State getting a big win over Howard. Still looking for that first win in conference play, but they do pick up their second win of the season, taking down the Bison 24-7.
And I'm just shocked to see Eastern Illinois like that. I know I was the lone believer in them last week. You had 3 quarterbacks come into this football game. You didn't know who your starter was going to be, and it definitely showed. But I did not think it was going to be that big of a blowout. And also just Tennessee State. It's good to see them back in the win column. You got to feel good for those guys. They've been struggling this year. You came into a game against a 3-3 Howard squad and got the job done.
And then it's really, as we said, it was surprising to see the big gaps between some of these games. But it really just shows how much one team can step up and just take over all 4 quarters of the game.
Well, now time to take a look at the people that did take over all of those 4 quarters. We take a look at our players of the week this week, and it's going to start off with Zolten Osborne, Charleston Southern, getting named Offensive Player of the Week here this week, and an incredible showing for him. And again, just a great game between Western Illinois and Charleston Southern. Just taking a look at some of his stats from the day. The 4 for 26, 262 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns. Had as many passing touchdowns this game as his freshman year in 2023. Certainly deserving of it as certainly a career day here for Zolten Osborne.
Yeah, that was career high in touchdown passes for him. And also take a look at that guy. If you put a pirate hat on him, he would look just like the mascot. He is a Buccaneer at heart, and he showed it in this one. Played strong the entire game. And what I really liked from him is how he recognized pressure and he took the easy throws. Like, you're going up against Western Illinois. You know their secondary's been struggling. Don't beat yourself. And you also had some help from the receivers making some great grabs on that one right there. The whole game, what I really like, and I know it isn't necessarily schemed around him, but the offensive coordinator, Seth Strickland, you saw the route combinations they were running. Western Illinois was guessing the entire game, and it led to a lot of guys getting wide open, and then Osborne was able to find him, go through his reads, and find the wide open guy more often than not. Very deserving of the award this week.
And really just his story to go out with an injury in 2023, you come back the next year, you only get to play 1 game, but then to perform like he did this last week is really just impressive after all that, to come back and show that his offense can lean on him and depend on him to lead this team.
Another guy for the Buccaneers who did fantastic last weekend was Steve Zayachkowsy, as he picked up 16 total tackles, a career high in solo tackles as well, with 10 of them. An incredible showing. Really, for him as a linebacker, didn't get a lot of stuffs at the line, no tackle for losses, no sacks, but you'll see through a lot of these plays here, there are a lot of key stops and preventing 12-yard plays from becoming 25-yard plays. He made some big tackles, especially on that last drive of the game for Western Illinois. He stepped up really big, obviously, with 16 tackles, and as mentioned, career high game for him, and certainly a big step up for Charleston Southern, knowing the spot they're in, the trends that they're going with, how they're kind of stepping up here in conference. You always want to have kind of that one guy leading your defense in a certain position group with Zayachkowsy.
Well, I'll make a comparison here. He's been like Jimmy John's this year. He's freaky fast, and he always delivers. I mean, he was outstanding in this game. When you're making tackles that are 20, 40 yards down the field as a linebacker, that means you're never giving up on the play. That means you know what's going on around you, and he has that speed to be able to close the distance, and then more often than not, he's making the tackle. You don't put up those numbers by missing tackles. He has great form, he's really solid positionally, and just really stepped up in this game because they needed somebody to lead that defense, and he did it. And
this is, according to his stat sheet, clearly his best season yet with this team. And What I like about looking at his stats is that he gets better each week. So it's like you have a player who's not doing the same thing, he's growing each week, and that could be a big thing for this team if he continues to get better and be more involved.
Yeah, when I was looking over his stats, I mean, he's certainly been putting up good numbers, and it's good to see him grow, but it's getting good to even better to great, and that's exactly what Charleston Southern needs right now, especially on the defensive side. And also on the defensive side, another defensive player of the week, Micah of Tennessee State, getting named co-defensive player of the week. And he had a career day for him in the sense of interceptions. Wasn't his highest in tackles, still picking up 4 solo tackles, 11 totals tackles, but 2 interceptions, and how big they were. His first 2 interceptions of his career, alongside making some key tackles, getting that big win over Howard there in Nashville.
Yeah, this is a guy who has dealt with injuries in his career a little bit, hasn't had a lot of playing time, and it's definitely not a guy that when coming into this game, you weren't scheming around. This isn't a guy that you're like, wow, we got to look out for him. But after this game, you might have to. I mean, he clogged up the run game the entire time, was in the right hole, guessed on the right gap, read the offense, and then those interceptions. He had never had one in his career. Gets 2 in the same game, in a game they need to have. I know it's non-con, it's not a conference game, but they've been losing a lot of games, and their defense has been a big part of why. And you see in this game, didn't allow a lot of points, did a lot of good things, and he was a big part of that.
And he's been with this team, this is his 4th year. So I think that this is the year for him to have these career big games, and he knows the team, he's an older player, he knows the game. So I wouldn't be shocked if we continue to see him show out, and this won't be his only game with an interception.
And that second interception for him, it looks like he's been picking off balls for his entire career with how he got up and snagged it. Just an incredible one for his second. But speaking of Tennessee State and their performance, they were named the Stats Perform HBCU Team of the Week after taking down Howard 24-7 and picking up that second win of the season. Certainly a turnaround game they needed. And Howard's certainly no bad team by all means. And for Tennessee State, though, it's big for them. They get it on home field. You're able to pick up a win in the middle of the season after some struggles, and certainly deserving of that point. They put up some really good numbers against a Howard team that's performed well so far this season.
Yeah, they've really struggled to throw the football so far this year, and they've had multiple games where they've had 2 or 3 quarterbacks playing. This was one of the rare ones where they let Brian McNair play the entire time, and he looked solid. I mean, yeah, there were some passes in this one that should have been intercepted, but they weren't because his receivers came back, knocked it down, they helped out their quarterback. The passing game just isn't all on one guy, and the whole team came together and helped him out. This was their first game without an interception all season as well. They've struggled with turnovers. If you don't turn over the football, you make smart reads, your offense is going to get better, and you saw it in this game.
And for Howard, really just the fact that they didn't really get a chance to score. TSU kept them out of the red zone all but one time, and that was the time that they did score. So TSU really just doing a really great job on defense. But then also, like you said, their passing game worked well, but I wish that they could just figure out a way to run it as well, just because in the OVC competition, you're going to have to be able to figure out a way to run it and not just pass it.
Well, Tennessee State will be back at home here as they will take on Western Illinois. And a big game for both Tennessee State, who's looking for that first conference win. So is Western Illinois, who, like we said earlier, is just, they seem to be doing everything right and just can't get that win.
Yeah, I mean, in this one, if I'm Tennessee State, you have to make Western Illinois respect your passing game, because to piggyback off of what you said, Carmen, they haven't run well this year at all. And if you can't run the football and you've had some questionable quarterback play, it's hard to win games. But Western Illinois secondary has been by far the worst in the OVC Big South. If there was ever a game to make them respect your passing game and actually move the ball through the air, it'd be this one. And then you open up your run game, and that should help them out in this football game.
Yeah, this has to be Western's game. They haven't won a conference game. There's no better time than now. And then you have a team where they're going to pass it, so it's just easier to defend if you can figure out a way to do that. So if it was any game, Western could take this one.
Yeah, they're looking for their first win since the 13th, where they took down Valparaiso 51-30. But just a reminder, Valparaiso did lose to D3 side Adrian. So, yeah. That being said, though, Western Illinois is still putting up some great numbers. They're just, of course, not picking up the wins yet. But we'll look now at Charleston Southern and what they did last week, as they were able to snap a 14-game losing streak in conference play, taking down poor Western Illinois 29-24. And certainly, I think, just a sigh of relief for Charleston Southern picking up that big win. And no better place, again, it kind of does, for lack of a better word, suck to lose all those games and finally pick up a big win late in conference play. That being said, when you're having these struggles, I think there's no better time to pick up a big win than at this point of the season. You still got a handful of games left. You still got some time to prove yourselves, but again, you want to see that beginning of the season pick that up a little bit more. Still a really great win for Charleston Southern, taking down West Illinois, and again, snapping that 14-game losing streak in conference play, and their second win of the season. Certainly big for the Buccaneers moving forward.
And not to toot my own horn, I was the one person to believe in them last week to get the job done. Yes, I called it the toilet bowl. Maybe I was a little too mean on both teams, but you saw some nice things. And in this game, you need to make Eastern Illinois throw the football because they have not been able to do it at all. I mean, right now there's that saying in football, right? If you have 2 QBs, you have none. Well, right now they have 3 QBs, and I don't know what that means other than you're probably not going to win football games if you see 3 quarterbacks in the box score, unless you got like a Taysom Hill type. So make them throw the football. Your secondary was pretty solid last week, as solid as they can be against a great passing team in Western Illinois, and it's been okay all year. Plus, they've gotten good linebacker play. So in this one, make them throw the football and let Eastern Illinois beat themselves.
And then Charleston, they showed in that last game that they can pass and they can run. So I think the biggest thing for Eastern is just they can't have any holes. I feel like in their last game against SEMO, their defense kind of fell apart, and then SEMO was just able to keep scoring. But if their defense falls apart against Charleston, Charleston is going to score, as we saw last week. And they're not just going to do it by running, they're going to also pass it.
And it'll be a game of 2 teams kind of trending in different directions. Charleston Southern are trending up, Eastern Illinois trending down. Charleston Southern, of course, they will take on that Eastern Illinois team back in Charleston, South Carolina. Kickoff time at 2 p.m. Eastern. And a big game for them as well. But taking a look now on the other side of the ball, or the other side of the OVC, going out to UT Martin. They were announced the Stats Perform FCS Team of the Week for their performance up against, I apologize, the big performance again up against Gardner Webb. And what a shocker it was. Again, we've mentioned that. What a shocker it was to see. Obviously, we knew UT Martin had it in them. Gardner Webb, had some flaws, but they were a really great team, 4-2 coming into this week. And all of a sudden, UT Martin just ran away with it in kind of a runaway, kind of a reestablish yourself again game after a big week for them taking down Western Illinois, but just by 1. I think there was more they wanted to prove, and they did that perfectly against Gardner Webb in that huge win and getting named the FCS Team of the Week.
Well, you mentioned it earlier. I mean, Vegas did not give them a chance. We certainly did not give them a chance to win this football game, but yet they broke narratives about their team. They forced turnovers. They have not done that this season. They ran the ball efficiently. They have also not done that much this season. And they were really good on 3rd down, and they were perfect, 4 for 4 in the red zone. This is a win that propels you forward for the rest of the season, and right now they're sitting in a great spot in the conference at 3-1. This was not a team that we considered. We were talking about Gardner Webb. We were talking about Lindenwood, trying to get that 2nd spot or maybe take down Tennessee Tech. UT Martin's starting to play some pretty good football, and they definitely deserve the honor this week.
Yeah, and I mean, just a team effort all around. You had a defense that was able to stop the run at the line, and then you had an offense that was just clean. Their penalties they didn't have too many issues on that. They didn't have interceptions. It was just a clean passing game for Jace Bauer and this team. So really just everybody stepped up, and I think that's how they were able to get the stats that they put on.
And the UT Martin now 3-5. They finally get their bye week here this week. So get some good rest for them as they continue to surprise a lot of people, especially in conference play. The 3 wins have only come in conference play. Of course, did have a really tough non-con against Oklahoma State, UTEP, ranked Southern Illinois, and Missouri State in there before getting into OVC play. But We now look at what is so far the longest game of the season. Tennessee Tech Lindenwood playing the longest game of the year so far. Game time racking in at just over 6 hours, 6 hours and 4 minutes with 2 hour plus long weather delays. It was raining certainly more than cats and dogs. I think just about a whale might have fallen out of the sky with how hard it was raining. I think about the whole ocean got carried over into the Midwest last week. So, I mean, you could just see the timestamps here, how long it felt. I mean, they certainly felt like it was longer than an hour. I think it was one of them, maybe it was close to 2 hours, and it just didn't stop. The rain, some people still stuck around all the way from 1 to 6:30. And what a big game it was for Tennessee Tech, able to, in moments they thought it was going to be, kind of out of it a little bit. It seemed like it was Lindenwood's game for a lot of that. And Tennessee Tech, they took the weather delays to their advantage. They used it, and they were able to pick up a big win. And now Lindenwood, they're looking to hopefully get back into the win column here. Still back at home. They're wrapping up their 3-game homestand here up against Gardner. Webb, who is going to be looking to avenge that big loss, put it in simple words. And right now the question is, who's going to be their quarterback?
I mean, dude, 2.6 inches of rain last week. I know we were all working the game in different facets. Dude, we had 2 lightning delays. You had lightning strike in the middle of campus. It was not a game that was well suited for Lindenwood. They have not been good on the ground so far this year. Only 17 net rushing yards in this game, where Tennessee Tech, they love that. I mean, rain or shine, they're a great football team, but 311 yards on the ground.
Crazy.
So this week you're going up against Gardner Webb. You do not know who their quarterback's going to be. At least we kind of have an idea. It should be Nate Hampton. That's what they have listed. But last week it was kind of the same thing. We didn't know until game time who was going to be out there. So for Lindenwood, bring pressure early and often, because if it's Cole Pennington out there, he has struggled in his career dealing with pressure. He's thrown a lot of turnovers, and he doesn't go through his progressions. So if you just bring a lot of pressure and you go man on the outside, the quarterbacks will know, okay, if he's looking at me, the ball's probably coming my way. So for Lindenwood, bring that pressure, make them make mistakes, and that'll definitely help out their secondary.
And for Gardner Webb, really just focusing on the pass game, slowing down Nate Glantz, because like you said, the run game has been at a minimal. They don't have all of the three-head monster, as people like to call it. They don't have that anymore. Steve Hall hasn't been as productive as maybe we would have expected, but you still have Jared Rose. Nate Glantz takes it himself as well. But the run game is limited, so really just focusing on the pass game and stopping that.
Well, the other team involved in the Monsoon Bowl last week, Tennessee Tech, will look to stay perfect up against SEMO back at home in Cookeville, and a big game for them. Of course, every game is big when you get into conference play. SEMO, they have been looking really good right now. Johnny Weber, who has stepped up after losing Heidert and also Leatherwood, he's looked great as a third stringer this season. He has stepped up big time. He's earned a handful of Player of the Week awards as well. Been looking really, really good. The SEMO offense has really reinvented itself with Weber at the helm. That being said, Tennessee Tech is Tennessee Tech, and we've just been harping on how they lead every single category, and they have been since the beginning of the season. They continue to do it, and I think against Lindenwood, they just proved themselves no matter what. We're still a great team. Doesn't matter who we play. Doesn't matter how hard the teams we play. They looked fantastic, and unless a miracle happens, they're probably going to look fantastic again here today.
I'm going to give SEMO an impossible task, and this one is my key. It feels impossible. I'm challenging the players here. You have to win the line of scrimmage. I mean, Tennessee Tech has bullied every team so far this year. They're averaging the fourth most sacks per game in the entirety of FCS. They have been disgustingly good up front. And then you also have Johnny Weber, who's been really good, but he's not the most mobile guy. And SEMO's also given up the most sacks in the OVC Big South this year. It's not a match made in heaven for them. Definitely not. And if they can win the line of scrimmage and give their quarterback a bit of time to throw the ball and also slow down that run game from Tennessee Tech, which they've leaned on heavily in the last few weeks, I think that's the only way in which they can get a W in this football game.
For Tennessee Tech, it's really just putting pressure on Johnny Webb. Johnny Weber. He, as we saw, just found a lot of confidence, and he just works really well with their offense and just helping those players to shine. But Tennessee Tech really just keep doing what they've been doing, and that's good defense, productive offense, but focusing on Johnny Webber as well.
And it'll be a big game for obviously both, and I think this will be another good game for Johnny Webber to just prove himself, who he really is against another really good team here in the conference. And looking at the conference right now as we take a look at our conference standings, it's Tennessee Tech obviously still up front at 4-0. A little bit of shifting. Lindenwood and Gardner Webb, they'll be battling for that 3 spot here today right behind UT Martin, both at 2-1 in conference play. UT Martin obviously 3-1. They get the bye here. SEMO in the middle also at 2-1, so a nice 3-way tie right now for that number 3 spot between Gardner Webb, Lindenwood, and SEMO. Eastern Illinois, they will look to break their 500 and try and get a 3rd win here in their 5th game in conference play. Charleston Southern 1-3. Tennessee State, Western Illinois, both of them still looking for that first conference win here. Tennessee State coming off that win. Illinois 5-game losing streak for the Leathernecks.
And it really does feel at this point, if you're the rest of the conference, you are rooting for SEMO or UT Martin to get that win against Tennessee Tech, because if they just keep doing what they're doing, I don't see anybody else beating them, especially none of the guys at the bottom. They just haven't shown me enough. So it's up to UT Martin or SEMO to pull off that upset win, put a 1 on their loss column, and hope someone else can tie them later in the year for the championship title in the conference.
Well, time now for everyone's favorite segment, Who You Got? As we try and guess who is going to win each game here in the Big South OVC. I'm going to just put it out there right now. We're not very good at it.
No.
Some we're good, some of the obvious, some of the not so much. I mean, we saw it last week, so. But we're going to try our best here again. Simple as that. So we'll start off. First game here. We have Western Illinois on the road as underdogs against Tennessee State in Nissan Stadium. Leathernecks, as mentioned before, looking to snap the losing streak, looking to get that first win in conference play, but so is Tennessee State.
Okay, well, we'll start things off with me. I've struggled a bit in who you got this year. Last week, I took Eastern Illinois, and that was probably my worst pick of the season so far. I know we tied, had Gabe Levi on here last week. He actually had the best week. He looked really good. And Carmen, you got some big shoes to fill today on that route. But look, this game, you got Tennessee State. Tell me what they're good at, but consistently week to week. I don't really have an answer there. They're a different team every week. We see them where at least you know with Western Illinois, they can throw the football. They're consistent with their offense for the most part. They're going to put up a lot of points. So I got to take the team where I know they have some strengths and they've played good football and just barely lost these last few games. I'm going to take Western Illinois here.
For me, I think TSU relying on their pass game, or relying on their pass game is really hurting them. And I feel like if they're gonna compete against OVC teams, they have to add the run game to it. But until then, I don't know how far they can get with just passing. In addition, Western, they haven't won a game. So they're coming with, all that they got in this one. They should at least, and so I take Western on this.
Yeah, I think, again, it's just looking at the trends. I do like how Western offense is shaping up. That being said, there's still some defensive struggles they have to shape up on. Tennessee State, they're good in the air when they're good in the air. I mean, they can really sling the ball, but they have to have a decent day in order to really put up the results. And again, just relying on the pass has been kind of a fault for them every now and then. So I think just with the trends, I think finally Western Illinois gets over the hump, finally finds out a way to win, and I think I'm gonna clean sweep Leathernecks here to start us off.
So if you're a betting man at home, take Tennessee State, because we have been clueless on the show so far this year.
According to what everyone's saying right now, Western Illinois, they are the underdogs in that 3.5 points. So obviously I'm going to take them to win that, which would have them covered. So we'll see what happens. So without further ado, moving on to our next game, we have Eastern Illinois on the road taking on Charleston Southern. Again, like we mentioned, the trends, Charleston Southern, Eastern Illinois. Simply put at that, it's Charleston Southern, the favorite at home. James, who you got?
Look, Charleston Southern, I know it hasn't reflected on their record on the season, but they've played pretty good football the last 3 weeks. Where Eastern Illinois, you've had quarterback issues, your backups haven't looked amazing, and you also have another true freshman in Mr. Ford, where I don't know what he is because we just haven't seen enough reps. So who's starting in this game? We don't know. And even if we did know, they have not looked good in the passing game, which has not worked well for their running game at all because other teams are like, well, they're just going to have to run it. Charleston Southern, they got their first big win. Their players finally know how to win a game. Give me the Buccos here.
Okay, I got the Charleston. I feel like they showed they can pass. They showed they can run. I wouldn't really trust in Eastern's defense to keep up with Charleston. And as soon as Eastern's defense does collapse, I feel like Charleston's going to take the opportunity and run with it. So I take Eastern.
Yeah, I'm really looking at Zolten Osborne here. And again, he's just the Buccaneer himself leading the team has just looked incredible these past few games. And like I said, I mean, they're just trending up so well. And East Illinois, they got some things they need to figure out. And if they can figure it out, I think they get the win. That being said, you know, it's going to be I think it's going to be a tight game because, again, I think East Illinois is going to be close. They have the weapons. They've shown they can win games. They're just not at that spot right now. So I think after a couple of tough losses, you have that moment where it's like the turnaround moment. I think they'll turn it around. I don't think they're going to get the win, though. I think Charleston Southern is just going to continue to play well. So I'm going to take the Buccaneers here again over Eastern Illinois, and mainly because they're also at home. And I think that's what gives them a really big advantage. Though obviously this game's kind of just a toss-up. I think Charleston Southern, with the home field advantage, they're going to get that big second win in conference play.
And just kind of like talking about that, look, they are one of the furthest teams away from anyone else. So their home field advantage means a lot more. You got to get on a plane, you're in a hotel, your whole travel schedule gets thrown off when you play against Charleston Southern. So that's just another big thing to consider this week.
Another kind of toss-up game here. Lindenwood, back at home, third home game in a row. They also had that bye week, but they get that third home game in a row here. They only got one remaining, and this third one in a row here, fourth total, is against Gardner. Webb, a big one against the running Bulldogs, coming in 4-3. And again, they have the quarterback questions. They had a rough game against UT Martin where I feel like the defense was maybe a little exposed. They've played some really good teams. They put up some points against some really good teams. But against UT Martin, they certainly look shaky. That being said, I think they're going to have a little bit of a vendetta behind them as we need to reestablish ourselves. We need to prove ourselves once again. We're still that Gardner Webb team who's put up again good games against some really good teams. So again, really close one. But James, again, we'll start off with you. Who you got?
I'll give Gardner Webb a mulligan on the defensive side in that game because your offense turned over the ball 4 times. You get no time to rest. Those games those suck to be on defense in those types of games. But we don't know who's at quarterback. We're assuming it's Hampton, but maybe coming off potential injury. Is he going to be 100%? We don't know that. And also Cole Pennington, in his career so far, he has struggled mightily. I don't want to be too hard on the guy, but you don't want that being your starting quarterback coming into this week. Where Lindenwood, their secondary has held up pretty nicely so far in the conference, and it's homecoming. It's another home game. So for the first time this year, I know I've been doubting on the home team here. Give me the Lindenwood Lions. Come on now. Like, eventually you got to be a homer. I'm taking them this week.
Yeah, like you said, Lindenwood has been looking good. And in those first couple of quarters, or before the weather delays, in that Lindenwood and Tennessee game, they looked good against a nationally ranked team to start it off. So I like that they were able to do big numbers against a defense like that. And then they fell apart after the weather delay. They couldn't keep it up. That's because their pass game was cut off. But I feel like they can just pass it in this one and they'll be fine. So I would take Lindenwood.
I'm exactly with you right there, Carmen. I think they certainly proved a lot of stuff despite the difficulties. And of course, Tennessee Tech just Tennessee Tech, so I feel like that was kind of an expected one. I would ask you to put that thing on straight.
No, it's funny this way. Come on now.
I mean, Gardner Webb, they're a good team, but again, I think Lindenwood I think they have this one. I think they have the edge. It's homecoming. You know, I talked with Jed Stuger. He said, it doesn't really matter about the homecoming. We don't want to put extra pressure on it. It's just another game. But, I mean, there's always going to be a little bit extra fire. Players know what they're playing for. And they, again, going to prove themselves. I think is going to be another kind of comeback week like it was against UT Martin. They're going to come back, play a really, I hope, play a really complete game. And I think it's just going to be their game to win here at home against Gardner Webb, who I don't believe they've yet to beat. So it'll be a fun one here in St. Charles. So this is now our game of the week here, and it's over in Cookeville. SEMO on the road. Johnny Weber, the freshman, leading the Red Hawks over to take on the still perfect Tennessee Tech Golden Eagles at 7-0. This is obviously going to be another one where you look for a team at the bottom to, or I guess in the middle where SEMO's at right now, technically tied for third. You're looking for them for the big upset. Unranked team trying to take down number 8.
SEMO was this team last year in the conference. The entire year was who's going to beat SEMO. Now, I like Tennessee Tech a lot more as a team, like the way they're built. They just feel like a more complete team. And I also really like Johnny Webber. But this game, I gave them their key earlier to win the line of scrimmage. I don't think they can do it. I mean, the defensive front for Tennessee Tech is like top 5 in the FCS right now. And everybody there, they're a monster. You look at the size difference between them and some of these other teams too. I don't know if they can protect their quarterback. I don't know if he's going to have time to throw. So in this one, I got to take Tennessee Tech as much as I kind of want SEMO to get the win to make the rest of the conference feel a little bit more, give it some more parity for the rest of the season.
I'm going to go back to Lindenwood and Tennessee Tech's game one more time. The Tennessee Tech or Lindenwood showed that they could possibly stop Tennessee Tech. They did at the beginning of the game keep Tennessee Tech off the board for a little bit, and then they were able to get some really good stops on defense. And I think that shows a lot. And then, I don't know, Johnny Webber, I really just feel like this is his moment. He's been doing good week after week and really just showing as a third-string quarterback, you know, he can still get things done and he can still lead an offense. And I feel like this is going to be an upset. So I'm going to take SEMO.
Wow.
I like that pick. I mean, you look at this game, and again, how good Tennessee Tech was. Tennessee Tech has been controlling the spreads flat out. I mean, every single game the OVC had been, I think the highest outside of a Tennessee Tech game, I believe, was 7.5 last week with the UT Martin Gardner Webb game. Again, 23.5-point favorites here for Tennessee Tech, which is just unreal. That being said, I like your points, Carmen. You know, talking about Johnny Webber, who is this might just be his moment. This is his one shining moment here. Take down the ultimate team. Take down all this stuff. And I think it's a revival right now for SEMO. They have the experience against big teams. They were that team last season. Tennessee Tech were slowly building. They were looking really good. And I mean, SEMO, they're slowly building themselves back up here this season. That being said, I have been running some calculations about, trying to find the answer to what the best team, one of the best teams that just beats everyone is. I just need to throw in some random numbers here.
Make sure you carry the 2.
Oh yeah, carry 2. Yeah, I forgot about that one. Oh wait. Oh yeah, no, that sounds about right. Yeah. It's just Tennessee Tech. It's just Tennessee Tech. It always is. They're going to be fantastic. Tennessee Tech with the win. I mean, there's just no stopping them right now. Simply put, they're just fantastic. So I'm gonna take Tennessee Tech, and Carmen's gonna look for the upset. Which honestly, I think as much as people are looking for the upset, the reality is Tennessee Tech is just so darn good. But everyone's mortal. Everyone's mortal. Anyone can lose. That's what makes college football so fun. And speak of the devil, it is time once again for more college football. So enjoy your college football Saturday here. Jacob Stonick, James Zugmeyer, Carmen Lumpkins. Enjoy this Saturday.